In this 6th lesson on keyboards, I wanted to give you some examples of musical ways to voice chords so it doesn't sound so beginnerish when you play. So I'm going to put up this keyboard picture. We're still in the key of C, so you can see that we have, C is 1. I've numbered this to 3. I've extended a little bit, but let me show you this. Let's say the number 1 chord, I'm going to play with yellow. If you were to play the number 1 chord, you would play these 3 notes: 1, 3, and 5. If you play the number 4 chord, you would play number 4, skip 5, play 6, skip 7, play 1. And number 5, remember these are the 3 major chords. You'd play 5, 7, 2. Now there's nothing wrong with playing this way. In fact, beginners, this is how they start out. But as you can see, as I switch from 1 to the 4 chord, my whole hand has to shift 4 keys up. And when I go to the 5 chord from the 1, I have to shift 5 up. And from the 5 chord to the 1 chord, I have to shift my hand down 5 keys to the left. And what happens is when you do a lot of shifting like that, it starts sounding a little kind of beginnerish. And so what you can do to voice these chords, to kind of voice them so that your hand stays in one kind of general region of the keyboard, it will actually sound much more musical. It'll probably be easier for you once you get used to it because your hand's not shifting all the time. And it'll definitely make you sound like you know what you're doing, because that's how most people, advanced players, that's how they play their chords. So let me show you this. Let me put up this other example. So I have the same keyboard here, still in the key of C. It's exactly like this. But what I can do is I can voice these differently. So once again, here's the number 1 chord. It's exactly like the example on the bottom: 1, 3, and 5. But for my number 4 chord, number 4, forgot to put number 1. For my number 4 chord, I'm going to play, instead of playing it this way, I'm going to play 4 there. I'm going to play 6 there. But instead of playing this 1 up here, which is kind of out of the way from these chords, I'm going to play this 1 down here. So now, as you can see, between 1 and 4, there's one note that doesn't change. These 2 notes shift up 1, but it's right in this general area. Well, what happens if I take that same kind of method and apply it to the 5 chord? So here we go. Here's 5, 7, 2. Remember, all I need to do is play 5, 7, and 2 together to get that 5 chord. So what if I play 5 here? 7, instead of playing it here, I'm going to play it down there. See, this is 7 note there. And instead of playing this 2, I'm going to play it right there. So basically I have my 1, 4, 5 chords within this general region of the keyboard. As you can see, after you get used to this, it will become easier to play, so because your hand doesn't have to shift so much, and it's going to sound a lot more musical. Let me give you another demonstration of this. So the 1 chord doesn't always have to be in that original position. So as long as we know the 1 chord involves notes 1, 3, and 5, what if I were to play it this way? Here's the number 1. I'm going to start on the 3 because it's 1, 3, 5. I'm going to skip the 1, go 3, 5, and I'll play my 1 here. So that's a different voicing than what we kind of been looking at prior to this. Now the 4 chord, and it's just like kind of filling in the puzzle and visually figuring out what would work. Remember, 4 has 4, 6, and 1. Well, in this general area, I could just play this 4, 6, and 1. See, now those are clustered really close by. Number 5 is the 5 chord. 5. So if I wanted, I could just play 5 like it normally is. 5, 5, 5. Or I can play 7, 2. No, let's see. 5, 7, 2. 2, 5, 7. No, that 2, 5, 7. Yeah, I can play either here, 2, 5, 7, or if I wanted to, I can play 5, 7, 2 this way. See, either one of those. But basically what I'm doing is I'm voicing chords so that they're in one general region of the keyboard. And so this is one practical way to voice chords. Now, there's another name for these, what we're doing here. They're called inversions. And basically, inversions is a name people use to specifically voice chords in a certain order. We don't really need to, kind of explain that. You can look that up on your own, but I'm just trying to be just logical on if you wanted to move your hand the least amount to play these 3 chords, how could you configure it? And that's really where it starts. And ultimately, remember, your ears are the judge, so play around with this, get used to doing it all different ways, and figure out what sounds good to you. And by the way, as you're playing these, you still want to make sure that your number 1 chord, the bass notes, you want to play down here. So even though there's not a lot of shifting, for the bass, 4, there's another 4 here, you do want to shift the bass notes around because the bass notes, kind of that's what they're there for. They move, back and forth, high, low, high, low. The chords kind of remain in one area. So try that.